All right, so here we are moving towards the Pacific. You can see Uncle Sam over there saying the Japanese are next, and we're going to finish the job. Island hopping, just to kind of quick revisit here. Strategy used in the Pacific by the U.S. and their allies. Going to try and incrementally in small steps move towards Japan. Strategically, you're going to only attack islands that you really need. If you don't really need it and it's not super important to getting Japan, not going to use the resources and time on it. So liberation of the Philippines is going to happen. MacArthur promises to return, and 2 years after that, he does return indeed. So then you've got Iwo Jima, and then you've got Okinawa. The key to remember about these two is you look at the numbers of how many people have been killed or involved and dead and so forth. As the U.S. gets closer to Japan, the homeland, the casualties increase. This kind of shows us, we talked about in class, the Japanese have a sense of honor that's all important to them in a lot of cases. They're going to dig in harder and harder as the U.S. gets close to the mainland Japan. So with that happening, then you're going to see a lot more casualties increase, and that's kind of what's happening here. So island hopping is a pretty beneficial strategy in this sense. You're going to save resources, time, manpower, etc., by not attacking every Japanese-held island in which they're going to fight, life or death for it. See the kamikazes there; they're going to come about this time too. This is kind of the map here, just showing, how the Allies advanced, roll back Japan. The kamikazes are used kind of as a last-ditch effort to some degree to kind of counterbalance the growing American power in the area, especially in the naval aspect. Suicide pilots basically crashing their planes, some especially designed to inflict more damage into American warships, aircraft carriers, etc. Ultimately, though, it's not going to swing the tide. Manhattan Project, led by J. Robert Oppenheimer, it's the plan to develop the atomic bomb. Starts in 1942. It's very, very top secret. Albert Einstein, E equals MC squared. You guys probably know that about him a little bit. German physicist, he helps out with this. Trinity test happens. That's the test in which the United States, we first tested the bomb, and we found out, hey, it works. So now we have to answer ourselves, what do we do with it? Do we use it? Meanwhile, Truman hears about this Trinity test while he's at the Potsdam Conference in Germany. He then decides to use it, but before he does so, he sits there and he says, okay, I should probably warn Japan. So he issues what's called the Potsdam Declaration, and he warns Japan, more or less saying, look, Japan, you need to surrender or we're going to do something terrible to you, but he doesn't exactly tell them what specifically, other than just something bad's going to happen to them if they don't surrender. Was that enough of a warning? Did he give too much of a warning? That's kind of for you guys to decide there, but he did give them some warning at least. So his options are to have a land invasion. Positives of this, you're not going to have to use the bomb. You're going to be able to strategically attack where you want, more controlled attacks, etc. Downside, though, this is probably going to cost upwards of an absolute minimum of probably 500,000 Allied lives, not counting, however many Japanese lives. But more realistic estimates probably are like at least 1 million, 1.5 million Allied lives plus Japanese lives, maybe somewhere of a total cost up towards 5 million at the end of it. So very, very costly to do a land invasion. Demonstrating the bomb, maybe you find a deserted island, you say, hey, Japan, look at this, and you take some footage or send it to them or something. This is what's going to happen to you guys. So it's a nice thing. If it does work and they do surrender, then no more bloodshed. You really don't have to do much. Other than that, war is over. Downside, what if they don't surrender? Then you're back to option 1 or option 3 here to use the bomb. Using the bomb is going to make a really, really big statement, not only to Japan, but also to anyone else who might be watching, notably the Soviet Union, if they're thinking about, making a push for world power after that, which they kind of do. So a little bit of posturing there by the U.S., maybe by using the bomb. Downside, though, what about the civilian casualties, the radiation, this terrible, terrible weapon? Did we give enough warning and stuff like that? So complex issue here a little bit. Of course, Truman does decide to use the bomb, but theoretically going to save more lives ultimately than the land invasion, and it's definitely going to make a point. Also throw in possibly the Russian aspect of it. Hiroshima Nagasaki, you can see the Enola Gay up there in the top right. That's the plane, the crew that dropped the bombs. Bottom right kind of shows the destruction, just utter destruction. Hiroshima, 70,000 plus died instantly. A few weeks later, due to injuries, radiation, 100 plus thousand. Within a few years, by 1950, estimated the bomb kills 200,000 or more. Nagasaki, not quite as bad, although it's still obviously very terrible. 35,000 instant deaths, plus another 30,000 in the next few months. Total's only going to climb as the years go on, and people eventually die from the effects of those. Waited 3 days after the first bomb in Hiroshima to drop the second one, trying to give Japan a chance to surrender, and when they don't, Truman goes ahead and authorizes the use of a second bomb to make a real final point. Not long after that, Japan officially surrenders unconditionally, much like Germany. General MacArthur, the leader of the Allied forces in the Pacific, he's the one that accepts it. War is over, life is better, and we got to figure out what's going on afterwards. So that's pretty much it. Wrapping this up here. Feel free to get a hold of me if you guys need anything.